So the foundation has been on for half the day. This is day one, no primer. I just want to see how it's going to look. I feel that it's still a little bit too golden. Like I need that. I need that green, but we'll see. Okay, day one. Oh, and it's 92 degrees. It's 92 degrees. Yeah. Not only is Huda Kattan a entrepreneur, female entrepreneur, I would consider her the most influential beauty expert within the Middle Eastern region, as well as within the culture in itself. I do feel that she first made her mark in Dubai as far as getting her makeup established, her makeup career, getting her expertise under her belt. And then, of course, her fan base and so forth started to spread out outside of Dubai. Her personal blog, which she also started when she was getting into the makeup industry, is still to this day the most popular beauty blog within the Arab culture. Huda Kattan was born in Tennessee, so she was born and raised here in the United States, but her parents are from Iraq. And she did move to Boston along with her parents. She went to college up there, and that was actually where she met her husband that she is married to this day. So I think that's actually pretty cool. She studied finance in college because it was like what her parents would want her to do, you know, want their little girl to be successful and of course probably go down that professional route. But her love, her true love, her passion, of course, was beauty and cosmetics. So when she left with her husband to go to Dubai, that is when, you know, she stopped finance and she followed her passion, she followed her intuition, and it worked out. So if anything, definitely, if you're a dreamer, if you have a passion, you have a goal in life, don't do it for anybody else. Make sure you do it for yourself. So I'm a firm believer of that as well. Huda and her husband moved to Dubai in 2008, and that is when she first started to study makeup, and that's when she first started to, you know, develop a client base along with some celebrities and people over in Dubai. She also partnered up with her sister. She has two other sisters, and their first, I would say, official branded product was eyelashes. The lashes were created, sold to be distributed throughout Sephora retailers, but over in Dubai, and they sold out. They sold out, I mean, just flew off the shelves. So that would be her first, I would say, branded product. And then her Instagram along that time as well was getting up to speed and getting a lot of followers as well. So Huda was really developing her social media presence at that time back in 2008, really showcasing her Instagram, showing her talent, and of course with the eyelashes. Under the Huda Beauty brand, we have the eyeshadow palettes. Now the first one is the Rose Gold Edition. I actually have that myself and I do enjoy it. I do not have the second one, the Desert Dusk. She has expanded her eyelashes. She has eyelash glue, which I also have and I use. So she has various products, also highlighting products as well. Now we have foundation. I was under the impression that the foundation was going to be launching at every Sephora, wherever the locations were at. And I gotta be frank here, I guess I was in my mind thinking it was very much kind of like Fenty's foundation. And I apologize. I do not want to start comparing the two in that regards, but I can't help it. Here you have another fairly large launch of a foundation. It's an item that's pretty up there. It's being hyped. And it's also having a wide range of skin tones and a wide range of undertones. We have 30 shades. Therefore, it would be in the best interest of the customer as well as the brand to have the bottles at all the stores on the launch date. Let's talk about the actual packaging next. You're getting 1.18 fluid ounces. It has a pump, which is always great to have that with your foundation. My next con, I would consider my next complaint with this bottle, is the overall design of this bottle in itself and the actual material used. Now, you might think, okay, she's being petty. She's just complaining. This video is negative. It's my opinion. But I also want to state this because I was one of the viewers of Huda's review for Fenty Foundation. And the packaging and their overall brand look of the packaging was something that she had mentioned as far as on the review of the foundation. Now, Huda didn't like the Fenty bottle. She didn't think that the bottle design was within the concept of Rihanna. I also agreed with that. I agree with that as well, because when I'm looking at the packaging, I didn't really see that either. You know, when you have a brand and then you have the person behind the brand and you're kind of just trying to put the two together, is that something that looks cohesive? So that's actually something I thought of when I looked at this bottle. So that's where my opinion and my complaint is coming from that regards. When I look at this packaging, this is not what I see of Huda. The packaging, first off, is all plastic. Now, if she is an environmentally aware, you know, that's part of her lifestyle, okay, then maybe I can step back and rethink it. But I don't know that with her. Personally, I don't know her lifestyle and her beliefs. For me, this doesn't represent her. This looks cheap. I'm going to use that word. It looks cheap to me. This entire bottle is plastic. It's $40. For $40, I expect the packaging. I don't expect the bottle to be plastic. I expect a bottle to look, if you want to go that plastic route, you know, you can do where it looks like glass, but it's made from plastic. There is lots of ways that you can do to make your packaging look presentable in that higher market range that you're trying to show to the customer, you know, as they're coming to your counter. When you're looking at a foundation that is $40, that is up there in price. I feel that is. That's a higher end makeup price. The foundation, this bottle, this design, this looks like it would be about $15. That is how I perceived it as I'm walking up to her display and actually feeling and touching the actual product in itself. It's also very jagged. It's very rough and hard to the touch. I mean, if you go really in, these sharp corners on the side, it's pretty sharp here. Again, I just expected more in the packaging. I expected something a little bit more sleek, a little bit more elegant. That's just what I expect. And it's not the first time I look at a product of Huda Beauty's where I see that as well. The eyeshadow palettes with the cardboard and that flimsy plastic to cover. Again, I feel that you might be cutting corners on the packaging. I don't know what it is, but the image that I'm first perceiving within that first 10 seconds, which is crucial to pull that consumer in, that is where I'm saying the overall look of it, I don't see it cohesive. I personally just don't see it as something that is like Huda. Moving on to the shade Cinnamon. If you are new here on this channel, I have mentioned in my foundation reviews that first day when I am first testing out a foundation, I will not use a primer on my face. I don't use a lot of products at all, if any. I want to see how the foundation is actually going to react to my skin. It needs to mix with my skin oils. That is going to show me if it's going to turn in color. For me, not wearing a primer on day one really will show me how that foundation is. I have normal skin. I have smooth textured skin. I can feel anything and everything on my face. So having no barrier there is what I'm really looking after. So for Cinnamon as well as for Chocolate Mousse, day one, I was able to see two drastic changes within both of those. I want to talk about Cinnamon, of course, first. Now with Cinnamon, it is geared towards ultra tan skin. That's what it states in the Sephora website. Ultra tan skin with a golden undertone. I wanted to provide that check-in for you because I was just going in all areas trying to see in different lights. And what I noticed was it still looks a little bit too golden on me. Just, I mean, I can see it around, especially around the perimeter of my face. I also have the skin tone in which it doesn't change throughout the season. My face is the same skin color as the rest of my body. So I can really definitely determine when a makeup item is off because you will see it along the jawline and you can see it here on the neck, and I will pull down the color there as well. Also, a couple of items I noticed with the shade Cinnamon is first is the texture. The texture of the foundation is kind of like in the middle between being medium thick. It's not a runny foundation, but it is medium thick. At first application, I'm thinking this might be a foundation that I'm going to be able to feel it on my skin. Even though it's medium thick in texture, I did not feel it at all on my skin. Also, the scent for Cinnamon, it was a very faint, like powdery smell to it. It wasn't anything that was alarming to me, but it was very faint, and I also did not smell it on my face. Now, on day two, I wanted to wear Cinnamon again. However, I wanted to now pull in the Huda Beauty's primer, matching primer. Actually, inside of the box, you have to kind of be careful with it because I didn't even know it was in here. I just kind of shook the box, and it just came right out. So that is great. There is a pretty good sized deluxe sample of the primer. The correct title is Complexion Perfection, a pre-makeup base. There is enough primer in there, I feel, to get a good feel on whether or not you're going to like the primer. Real quick on the primer, the second day, this is the day I want to wear Cinnamon with the primer. The primer has a stronger scent, a much stronger scent than in the actual foundation. That was the first thing I noticed. It smelled almost like it has a perfume scent to it. I then went to go look at the ingredients because I had it on my face. I looked at the ingredients and I noticed that shea butter was quite up there in the ingredients chart. Now, I've actually have had skin reactions and itchiness with some products that has shea butter in it. And sure enough, as I was applying Cinnamon, my skin started to itch. And I was like, you know what? I got to take this off. I don't want to take any chances. So I removed the primer, removed it completely off my skin. I mean, it just went it stopped, and I don't think I'm going to be able to wear her primer. It felt a little bit tacky, but then it quickly dried. If anything, it has like a lotion texture feeling, but then it seems to dry down to almost like if you were going to wear a primer that has like a smoothing, like dimethicone type feel to it. I didn't want to order Chocolate Mousse on the website because the colors were just selling out. They were just selling out, that little check mark. So I called Sephora. Sephora actually had the bottles in stock, and I stopped by and I picked up Chocolate Mousse, and I picked up an actual sample of it. I wanted to see how the shades would look on me. Now I actually swatched all of the darker shades for the filter foundation. Faux Filter. Faux is a faux. I think this entire time I was saying Faux. Faux Filter. I apologize. Maybe I can try to edit out when I say the foundation. With Chocolate Mousse, I decided to, again, wear no primer. I'd already obviously taken hers off. And I put on Chocolate Mousse, and the first thing I noticed with Chocolate Mousse is it has a different scent than cinnamon. The scent for Chocolate Mousse is extremely strong. It's stronger than the primer. And I thought the primer scent was strong. Chocolate Mousse is above and beyond. I don't understand that at all. The scent reminds me of a spicy, strong scent, like black opium perfume and angel perfume mixed together. That's immediately what I thought of. It is a very heavy, very strong scent. And it lingered because I wore Chocolate Mousse all day. So that was the first thing I noticed, and frankly, I did not like that. Next is just the overall look of it, the wear, as you saw in the swatches. I feel that Chocolate Mousse blended into my skin. It's olive, but it's also neutral at the same time, ultra tan skin. So I feel that the description for Chocolate Mousse is accurate. It's going to fall within those skin tones that has, I feel, a lot more olive in their undertone. Now, in various different lighting situations, for me, when I was looking really close up for Chocolate Mousse, primarily in this region down here, I was seeing areas in which kind of like it was darker green, and I saw a little bit of gray as well. So I feel that for me, Chocolate Mousse runs a bit too olive, too neutral for my skin tone. So I'm still kind of in that middle mix. It is a tough undertone to get in there because, you know, you can run the risk of it being too green. You can run the risk of it being too cool, or maybe too warm, as far as having too much yellow in there. So it is a tough undertone, and I know this, so I'm not going to be bashing the brand in that regards, but I feel that if you're able to fit into Chocolate Mousse, you have that nice mix of that olive, you have a little bit of that warm, and you have some of that neutral as well. So I think that you're going to find probably a good match if you do fall into Chocolate Mousse and you notice that Chocolate Mousse just really much blends into your skin. Mocha is the next shade down. That one actually is too dark for my skin. I did swatch that in Sephora. So I would just kind of be in the middle. Now I can mix cinnamon and Chocolate Mousse and frankly get probably a pretty good match on my skin, but I'm going to say it again. I mean, I am an exact girl. We're talking like 98, 99%, if not 100%. I have foundations already in my collection that are an exact match, that just blend right into my skin. And that is how I wear my foundation. And I'm happy continuing to use those foundations. The days of mixing this and that and so forth for myself, it's over. I don't mind for mixing on other individuals. But for me, that foundation has to wow me. It has to make me have to go through the trouble of mixing a couple of shades. The next day, I wanted to see how Chocolate Mousse would just react with a primer underneath, not using, again, Huda Beauty's primer, just use my own primers that I have. And actually, it laid fine. It was fine with the primer that I did use. The coverage of the foundation, I feel, is full coverage. You can build this foundation up to full coverage. I was noticing that even with just one application, whether I used a beauty sponge or use a brush, I could see it start to cover hyperpigmentation. I can see it start to cover dark marks. First application, and that's good. That's impressive to me. I can use just a little bit of areas that I need a little bit of extra coverage, start dabbing in the foundation, and again, it starts to build up and actually starts to cover. So I do like that because that means I don't need to pull in additional concealer to cover any hyperpigmentation or any dark marks. So I do feel that the foundation is accurate, that it is a buildable foundation. You can be medium coverage, but you can definitely build it up to full coverage. It is a foundation that I felt I needed to set with powder, whether I set with a brush or my usual method of using a velour puff. I could see where the foundation is still looking a bit wet. It doesn't dry down on its own. It needs to be set. I did try different methods. I wanted to see how it would set using a beauty blender or how it would set using my velour puff. You know, it's set fine using loose powder for that method. But even after spraying it with, you know, just like a mist, kind of like freshen it up a bit and let my face dry, my skin still looked dry all day long. I just felt that it just looked too matte for me. Now, that is my preference. I don't like to look very matte. I like my foundations to have some sort of dewiness to it, and then I can adjust the level of the dewiness. But I personally just don't like my foundations on me to look very, very matte. And that's how I felt all day. I think with my skin, it was just kind of sucking it up, in a sense, sucking up whatever oil that might be there, and was just like kind of thirsty for more. That's how I felt. Like I just looked unusually dry, and that's just not how I like my foundation to look. So that's another area in which I just wasn't pleased with. Last, I want to leave off on the ingredients, because I did check the ingredients not only when I was checking for the primer, I was checking the ingredients for the foundation. And what really prompted me to start kind of digging was the fact that the scents were different. The scents are different for cinnamon versus chocolate mousse. How do you have one shade foundation that is so heavily fragranced, and then you have another foundation color that barely has a scent to it? So I'm like, okay, what's the difference? My natural curiosity, I'm trying to see what's the difference in it. Now, I'm only finding one ingredient list. I don't see different ingredients per shade. I don't know if the brand's intention was to let's have different scents per color name. If that was the intention, I think that that is just silly. I mean, that's a lot of work, and it's you know, you don't know, people are just going to be reacting differently to it. But I would have liked to have seen, well, because I'm curious as to why chocolate mousse smells so darn strong and cinnamon doesn't. So I was trying to compare the two. But with my research on that, I am noticing that the ingredients for Huda's Faux Filter Foundation is like the same type of ingredient, if you want to say like recipe, like a standard foundation recipe, so to speak, if it maybe comes from this particular lab or particular region in Italy. It's matching up there with Fenty's foundation. It matches with Catrice the Drop foundation. And it also matches, go figure, to a L'Oreal True Match foundation, which is actually the foundation I have on in this video. I wore it specifically because it actually is a finish that I like, and it has always worn well on my skin, and I don't have a problem with it. Few ingredients as you're going more towards the bottom is changing against the Huda Beauty's foundation, but it's pretty similar. There's an option right there for you if you can't find your color in Huda's line. Let's say you also can't find your color range within Fenty. Catrice's foundation is what, 4 shades? Anybody with darker skin, of course, is not going to fall within that category as well. You might want to give L'Oreal True Match a chance if you don't already use it. I think that it's one of L'Oreal, the brand itself, I think it's one of their most used one of their most famous foundations within their brand. The pluses would be if you are able to find your color match within the Faux Filter Foundation, you will be pleased. Not only with that, I think you will be pleased with the fact that if you also have skin irritations, any areas in which that you do need to cover, the foundation will build from medium to full, so that's a good plus. And hey, if you can get over the scent, I don't know. Depends on what color you get, might have a different scent. I don't know. I really don't know what the brand is doing with all the different smells, but you know, if that doesn't bother you. So you got some pluses right there. The negatives or the cons would be, of course, I feel the scent. The color, of course, wasn't a match for me, but like I said, I'm happy with what I currently have as well. The price. I feel the price is up there for what I'm getting. This, though, again, I'm not going to let her slide with just this whole plastic bottle. No, I felt that you could have took some time to make that look a little bit more presentable for that high end. Hey, I'm on the shelf. I believe even in that video before she took it down, oh, Fenty's across from me. Okay, I personally wouldn't be worried about, you know, Fenty's display across from me. I mean, you never know. ColourPop might be across from you tomorrow. It's now being sold there. So what can you do? I want to thank you all for stopping by and watching on this spooky Halloween. If this is a holiday that you do celebrate, be safe out there. Enjoy that candy. Please remember to like and subscribe on your way out. And as always, I'm going to see you in the next video. Goodbye, everyone.